The heat on this Wednesday. I am Tom Brannon. Hope you're having a great one so far. And just going to spend a little time visiting with you this afternoon on THA 11 Plus, talking about the heat. The heat's to come, persistent and prolonged heat. It looks like July is finally showing up here in the natural state. Still got that small chance of an isolated shower or storm. Unlike the last few days, those rain chances will be diminishing over time, and the heat is certainly going to build in. The one thing that might impact the heat a little this weekend is a disturbance that is still located over the Gulf. We'll get the latest on that here in just a few minutes. And Roger is joining us up in the director's booth. And Raj, I don't know if I told you or not, but here in a few minutes I'll ask for Storm Track 11 because I do want to show you where this disturbance is located. I didn't want to surprise him. I won't do that right now. Let's talk about what kind of day we have going on out there. You can see the cumulus towers try to build in the afternoon heat and humidity. Our temperature is at 93. Our high today is expected to be around 97. The peak heat of the day is coming up between now and 5:30. So it's possible we make it to 97. The dew points haven't dropped as much as expected by our forecast model information, still running in the lower to mid 70s, but it still feels very, very sticky outside. And in the coming days, our temperatures are expected to go up a little bit more. And when you splash in those dew points in the 70s, it's going to feel hotter outside. So that's why we want to give you the heads up. We could be looking at a few 100-degree days, and our weather impact alert criteria is that if we do actually have 100-degree days in the forecast, and let's say short term within the next 3 to 4 days, we expect it's going to hit 100, we'll issue that alert. And that's so that you can better prepare yourself for the heat. The heat does kill a lot of folks, and we want to make sure that you take lots of breaks and, find a cool spot. Lightweight, loose-fitting clothing is certainly something that you should wear if you're going to be outdoors. Again, we're looking at cumulus towers building up. We're looking westbound, Pinnacle Mountain there. State Capitol is right over to the bottom left. All in all, it is a hot summertime day here in Arkansas. With that, yesterday at this time, we were looking at a few spotty showers and storms, and they are trying to pop up. They're not as many out there. There's one up that's west of Mountain Home, Pope County, maybe one or two here developing. Lonoke County looks like there might be a shower, or even Independence County. All in all, the rain chances do fall off. You could get one of those splash and dash garden variety type showers or storms this afternoon. That's what I'm expecting, and that's really all I am expecting going forward between now and the weekend. But the weekend could present a different challenge depending on the track of this tropical low pressure that is yet to develop into anything organized. It's still well unorganized. There's a spin in Florida that I'll show you, but this is what we're going to be tracking over the next few days. Hey, the dog days of summer, right smack dab in the middle, July 3rd through roughly August 11th. And so it's going to feel like the dog days of summer for those of you that are into the whole what does it really mean and the mythology behind that. Sirius star in the sky was thought to add heat to our sun in ancient times, and because of that thought, then in the summertime it feels hotter. At least that was the thought anyway. But the dog days of summer certainly upon us. Heat advisory has now been extended through Thursday evening at 8 o'clock, and I think that's going to carry into Friday, possibly into Saturday. Upper 90-degree temperatures, heat index values 105 to 109. If in fact we do see heat index values eclipse the 110-degree mark, then we'll be sure and warn you and alert you with the weather impact alert. The weather itself, the heat itself, is certainly going to impact your outdoor events and activities. I know there's sporting events happening outside, some of it in the morning, some late in the day, but we're heading into a stretch where the heat's going to stay with us all the way through the weekend and possibly, probably into next week. So that's what's on the scope. That's what we're talking about in terms of the impacts. Now, over the next 6 to 10 days, the Climate Prediction Center is indicating that the bubble of heat is really going to stay with us. We're expecting to see above average temperatures over this bullseye area here across a good part of the Midwest, the south central U.S. and the southern U.S. And this is indicative of the ridge of high pressure that I'll show you in just a moment. This ridge of high pressure is really going to build in, and it's going to take over, and it's going to sit in place, and it's really setting up to be that typical summertime pattern that you would expect here in Arkansas. And with that in mind, what normally happens, the rain chances drop off. It's some interesting things about the rain chances that I'll pass along in a moment. But over the next 6 to 10 days, we're expected to be near average to below in Arkansas with the amount of rain that is expected here, unless this tropical system does something and parks over the state and brings us a lot of rain. Right now, it does not look like the upper level steering currents are going to allow for that to happen. That's the way it looks now, but things could change on that. That's the 6 to 10 day outlook. But let's talk about the rain. You know, we've been above average in May, we've been above average in June, and a little bit above average in July when it comes to rainfall. And we've mentioned this before, the more rain that you can get in the springtime and early summer, that really helps to keep us in an area in the 90s. You got to wait for that moisture to evaporate out of the top layers of soil. You've heard us also talk about that a good way to tell when 100-degree temperatures might be around the corner is to take a look around you, the highways and the roadways. If the grass is turning brown in your area, that's a good indication that soil moisture is evaporating out. And when you get a ridge of high pressure that sits over the top of you, just kind of bakes you, then that's usually when you see your first 100-degree days. We haven't had any yet, but it could be on the way. Again, lots of factors involved: rainfall, how much moisture we have in the soil, and the latest drought monitor that's going to be updated on Thursday. This is really telling a big story that we're not abnormally dry. We don't have severe drought or exceptional. We do have one little patch in southwest Arkansas, so that's good news. We still have quite a bit of soil moisture at the ground level, the upper part of the ground, that's going to keep those 100-degree days at bay. But how much longer? It remains to be seen, because this time of year, a lot of moisture evaporates out of the ground. I remember hearing some farmers talk about it this time of year. A quarter to a half an inch in some regards could be evaporated out into the atmosphere. Let's talk about the rainfall and what we have seen so far this month and this year. Monthly rainfall totals, we've picked up almost 1 3/4 inches. We're ahead of the game by 1/100th of an inch, but this really tells the story. We're ahead of the game once again this year. 36 inches of rain so far. Our departure, we're in the green, a little over 7.5 inches of rain. And that's really depicted by what's going on outside. There's a lot of greenery. I don't see things stressing out too much. Our trees and grasses appear to be thriving. Again, but for how much longer? Because as the story goes, we're heading into the hottest part of summer. Things begin to dry out. And I don't know if you remember this. If you grew up around here in Arkansas, I remember growing up, high school years, that it was always hot and steamy in July, but it was still hot in August, but it seemed like the air mass had dried out quite a bit. So by August, the end of August, heading into September, we enter that other dry period where the dew points are a little bit lower because all of that moisture has been, again, evaporated out of the soil. So July, typically steamy. August, we begin to feel drier unless you get a tropical system. So I think things are beginning to shape up where we're going to have that typical Arkansas pattern. Let's talk about the heat advisories. Heat advisories remain in effect tonight through 8. They've been extended through Thursday as well for roughly the same areas through 8 o'clock. Heat index values 105 to 108 degrees or 110 degrees, really more like 105 to 108. Anywhere within that orange area. You get into that purple shaded area, that's an excessive heat warning. Once we see that really kicks things up a notch. It becomes a little more dangerous to work outdoors in the sun. You're at risk for heat stroke. But heat advisory, temperatures 100 degrees, some people can't handle it. And there is something to be said about getting acclimated. There's a lot of crews that are out and about that are caring for lawns. There's a lot of road crews and highway crews, and they can be susceptible to the heat. It's just a matter of slowing down, taking breaks, wearing something that's a little lightweight and loose fitting. So the heat alerts continue. I think we're going to see those heat advisories all the way through Friday, possibly into Saturday, with one little note of that tropical system over the Gulf. Let's cover the current numbers outside. This is as of 2:39 this afternoon. Again, it is 92 in Little Rock. Our high has been 93. Pardon my glasses. If we can take this full, if you want, Roger, I'm just going to spend a little time talking numbers. It's always a little bit cooler in the northwest, where Fayetteville is at 87. But it's 95 in Monticello, 94 Texarkana. Let's check on those heat index values. Well, first, the dew points, that measure of moisture in the atmosphere. There's still a lot of 70-plus degree dew point numbers out there. Again, that's because we're not dry, abnormally dry, or exceptionally dry. We still have quite a bit of moisture at ground level. 73 degree dew point, you combine that with a 92 degree temperature, your heat index right now in Little Rock is 101. I like to use the dew point as a measure of that, not just humidity. The dew point, in my estimation, really gives a more accurate moisture value. And the lower that number, the more comfortable it feels. So if the dew points dropped off in the 50s and 60s, yeah, it's hot, but it doesn't feel nearly as stifling out there because you don't have as much water content. 105 is the heat index in Camden, 108 the current heat index in Searcy. It is hot, and we still have a couple of more hours of the extreme heat today where our temperature could make it to 97, and we may see that heat index value of 105. Might be asking, well, what's the catalyst for all of this? I think it's a little late, but it's the ridge of high pressure that we normally see this time of year. That high typically takes shape over the south and the plain states, really extending into the Midwest. This high kind of blocks weather systems from affecting us. So we have the rain cut off, the systems go up and around. The severe weather season really is for the northern plains and the northern Midwest. It's very active here. That's where you find your jet stream. But over our area, the high is going to build in from east to west. Follow the red shaded area. That's that bubble of high pressure, the heat dome, if you will, that is going to be building back toward Arkansas. This is the timeline Friday. See how it's covering up a good part of real estate here, and it's spreading out. That heat dome is only going to set in place and maybe expand. And this goes in line with that 6 to 10 day outlook looking into the future. A good part of this region was going to be above average when it comes to temperatures. Notice the heat dome just sitting there. All right, you might get a tropical system that will travel along the southern periphery of that high, but as long as that high is there, it looks like it's going to stick around a while. We're going to be hot, it's going to be humid, and we'll have heat advisories that will be in effect. This is all the way through Tuesday next week. I could take it a little further, and I would say any time between now and next Tuesday, we might have our first 100-degree day. I think it's more likely that we'll spend time in the middle to upper 90s. Got to see those dew points drop off before really I think we make it into that 100-degree realm. So that's the upper levels. That's 500 millibar, high pressure aloft, and that's indicative with that heat dome. So it's going to be hot. Afternoons ahead as we look, and we'll update this afternoon. Forecast has been working on right now, as a matter of fact, but including today, 97, tomorrow, possibly 99, pointing our attention to Monday, Tuesday next week, possibly 99, and Wednesday, Thursday, according to the 11-day forecast, of which we'll see in just a moment, we've gone ahead and bumped that up another degree or two. Hot and steamy with the dew points dropping off, lower water content. We could make it to 100 by Wednesday or Thursday next week. This is the latest in terms of the way it's going to feel, what it feels like to the skin. And again today, 103 with a peak 105-degree feel this afternoon around 4 o'clock. But the heat index values heading into the first part of your weekend. This is a European model. It's going to be a little bit different from the GFS. The two are not jiving, and it's because of that system. It's over the Gulf of Mexico, or the Gulf of America. I like to just say the Gulf. It doesn't create problems, but you know what I'm talking about, the Gulf. 101 is what it could feel like on Sunday, 100 Monday, back up to 105. So if we're impacted at all by the system from the tropics, it's going to be Sunday, Monday with a few more clouds and even maybe a few showers. All in all, it's a hot forecast that's going to stay with us, very persistent and long term. In terms of the humidity, let's look at the dew points. Now this afternoon, our forecast model information, which is sometimes not accurate or not 100% accurate, was calling for the dew points to drop into the 60s. Now I just showed you a moment ago, we're still looking at a dew point of 73 here in Little Rock. We got to mix out some of this moisture, and I just don't think that's going to play out. So we'll keep those lower 70-degree dew point numbers, and we'll have to make a little bit of an adjustment, I think, for Thursday. But with that tropical moisture coming in, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, dew points go back into the low 70s. And then next week, if all comes together, this particular forecast model wants to really mix out a lot of that moisture, which means our heat is really going to build in. So we'll keep a close eye on that situation. There's just a lot of factors with this. So that's the humidity scale. This is what it's going to feel like. Again, heat advisories expected to continue all the way into the weekend. We may drop it off Saturday, Sunday, depending on the cloud cover. And heat index forecast for those of you that are watching on THV 11 Plus. Let's find your favorite location. This is by tomorrow afternoon. Again, you've got the heat advisory for eastern Arkansas, central Arkansas, where it's going to feel as hot as 104 or better. And this is the peak of the afternoon heat around 4 o'clock Thursday. On Friday, 107 Conway, Little Rock, 108 Searcy. That's what it could feel like. That's not the air temperature. That is the heat index value. Let's move into Saturday. Notice that in southeast Arkansas, this is where we're seeing some of the push of the cloud cover, maybe some deeper moisture here in the southeastern part of the state. Notice the next day it's gone. Back into the 101 degree feel, or over 100, the century mark. 106 could be the heat index for Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock. And then Monday, it's very, very persistent. It's going to feel hotter, and that also holds play into Tuesday. Give me just a second. Sometimes that happens. Get a little tickle in the throat. Now let's talk about the tropics. Just a second. Part of the problem, folks, is that Tom likes to drink iced tea, and iced tea, you know, caffeine kind of dries out the vocal cords a little bit. So give me just a moment. You look at this map right here. You can take it full. Get it off my pretty little face here, Raj, if you don't mind. We've updated this map over the last couple of days, and there will be updates moving forward. The chance of development, according to the National Hurricane Center, is 40%. There's a greater percentage that it won't develop into something, but they keep it in that midline there because there is something spinning here, and it looks a little more impressive. If we can go to Storm Track real quick, I'll show you what the visible satellite perspective looks like. You can certainly see a circulation there in Florida. Let me broaden this out just a bit. You can take it full, Raj, if you don't mind. There is certainly an area of spin near the Florida Panhandle. And if you look closely, just north of the Panhandle, that's where you're finding the upper level spin. There could be a surface circulation also developing there. This is slowed down. Let's see if we can speed it up just a little bit. And let me take it a little faster. There you go. So currently it is over the southern Gulf Coast there near Florida, or the northern Gulf Coast, however you want to say it. And there certainly is a little spin. You come back to me, Raj, and we'll keep it on Storm Track just real quick, and I'll pinpoint that. There it is, right in this general area right here. So that's why we're keeping, or they're keeping, the Hurricane Center about a 40% likelihood something could develop. If it's over the waters, it stands a better chance than it does if it's over land. All right, back to maps we go. And if it does develop and become a named system, it would be Tropical Storm Dexter. It's possible. The area continues to drift to the west, so I would imagine here by the end of the week, part of Louisiana, even part of the Texas coast. But it depends on the track of the system, and that's what we're going to talk about now. This is the graph. It's going to take us into Friday and Saturday. That system right here, southern Louisiana. You can kind of see the spin of it. We'll keep an eye on some of this outer moisture that could move into Arkansas. This is the moisture that by Saturday could be in place to bring more clouds, and if that's the case, it may keep the temperatures down a bit. Notice it just kind of washes out. It elongates over eastern Texas into Arkansas. Not expected to become anything major, but we've seen these things turn on a dime before, so it's just best to be aware and alert. If you have any travel plans over the next couple of days and you're heading this direction, you're going to be impacted by heavy rain, tropical rains, possibly a little bit of wind as well. So that's what the future radar looks like with this system. Not yet named, not strengthening, just kind of maintaining, holding its own there over the Gulf. Now let's talk about the next 7 and 11 days, 11-day forecast, of which we'll update for you 10 o'clock tonight. Here it is, 2:48. And over the next 11 days, again, the numbers tell the story. And the story is middle to upper 90s, close to 100 degrees. And possibly even by Wednesday next week, we could see our first 100-degree day of the year. We haven't had a 100-degree day yet, which is hard to imagine, because typically this time of year we would at least see 1 or 2 100-degree days. There's a chance tomorrow, the high 99, the Monday or Tuesday next week. Anytime we hit 100, it's worthy of weather impact alert, because 100-degree temperatures are certainly nothing to, you want to take that seriously, nothing to write home about, but you really want to make sure that you've got everything in place. Make sure that you know that if you've got plans outside to take lots of breaks and drink plenty of fluids, make sure that you're wearing something lightweight, loose fitting. I think it's just best to sit inside in the air-conditioned comfort of your home. That is the 11-day forecast. I do want to share one more thing with you. before sending you on your way today. Keep in mind that if you keep kids or pets in cars and you think it's a good idea just to crack the window, it is not. The car is basically an oven in the summertime. Look at the numbers here. If the temperature is 95 degrees, after only 10 minutes in the car with the windows up, it's 114. You go into 30 minutes, it's 129 degrees. And then after 60 minutes, after an hour, it could feel as hot as 138. Now that's 95. If it's 100 degrees, it could feel as hot as 143. So yeah, your car basically becomes an oven. And it's not advised to take your kids, pets, or even elderly. Got to check on elderly. Make sure folks have fans to keep themselves cool. Of course, in the coming days, we'll pass along those tips to make sure that you're safe and ready when it gets hot here in the natural state. All right, so hopefully you've learned a little bit this afternoon about what we're expecting moving forward. It is going to be hot. We'll have the latest on your forecast this afternoon at 5 and 6 and 6:30, of course, 10 o'clock. And you can always stream us right here at THV 11 Plus. If you haven't downloaded it yet, it's an easy download. Or you can, from Apple TV, Amazon Prime, Fire Stick, you can do it there. If you're watching this on the phone this afternoon, or if you have a friend or a family member that's yet to do it, well, help them do it because we'll be popping in on occasion, making sure that you have the latest weather information as well as news information. We'll see you this afternoon at 5 o'clock right here on THV 11. We'll be streaming the newscast. Y'all have a great rest of your day and try to stay cool out there.